lost time. No room for darkness to take place. Calling for the light.
Jimin, the young werewolf and heir to the Silver Fangs, stepped out into the cool night air. His muscles tensed as he took in the scent of the forest, the crispness of the leaves, and the distant howls of his packmates. The full moon hung heavy in the sky, bathing everything in an ethereal glow. He breathed deeply, trying to clear his mind and focus on the task at hand. For years now, Jimin had been searching for his true mate. He had traveled far and wide, attending pack gatherings and lonely hearts dances, all in the hope of finding the one person who was meant to stand by his side for all eternity. But so far, his efforts had been in vain. Jimin's heart ached with the knowledge that he was different from the other werewolves in his pack. While they all had their mates, he remained alone. He had resigned himself to the fact that he might never find his true mate, but a part of him refused to give up hope. Tonight, as he ran through the woods, he followed a faint scent that seemed to call to him, promising a chance of happiness. His heart raced with anticipation, and his legs moved faster, carrying him closer to the source of the scent. The trees thinned out, revealing a small clearing, and beyond that, a cozy little cabin nestled among the branches. There, sitting on the porch, was a girl. Her long brown hair tumbled over her shoulders, and her beautiful eyes were fixed intently on a book in her lap. Jimin hesitated for a moment, unsure whether to approach her or not, but the pull he felt toward her was too strong to ignore, and so he stepped out from behind a nearby tree and introduced himself. "Hello," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "My name is Jimin. You're beautiful." The girl looked up from her book, and Jimin's heart skipped a beat. Her smile was dazzling, and he couldn't help but feel that she was somehow different from any other human he had ever met. "Thank you," she replied, her voice soft and melodic. "My name is Ryan. I'm just staying here for a little while to get away from the city and work on my writing." Jimin nodded, feeling an inexplicable sense of calm wash over him. He knew with every fiber of his being that Ryan was his true mate, but he also knew that revealing the truth about himself to her would be a Would she accept him for who he was, or would she turn her back on him and run? The question hung in the air between them like a shadow, and Jimin couldn't help but wonder which path their future would take. He decided to spend the rest of the night getting to know Ryan, learning about her hopes, her dreams, and her fears. As they talked, he felt a connection forming between them, a bond that went beyond mere attraction. Jimin knew that he had to be careful, to take things slowly with her, but at the same time, he couldn't help but feel that the longer they spent together, the more inevitable it seemed that she would become a part of his life. The sun began to rise, painting the sky in hues of pink and orange, and Jimin realized that he had to leave soon. He had duties to attend to and responsibilities to his back. But before he could bring himself to say goodbye to Vian, he had to know. He took a deep breath and gathered his courage, then asked her the question that had been burning in mind since the moment he first laid eyes on her. Vian. He started to speak, barely audible. If I told you that there was more to me than meets the eye, that I wasn't just a human like everyone else, what would you say? Vian looked up at him, her eyes shining with understanding. I would say that it doesn't matter who or what you are, she replied, as long as you are true to yourself and to me. Jimin's heart soared at her words. He felt a weight lifting off his shoulders, a sense of relief and joy that he had never experienced before. He took Vian in his arms and, pouring all of his feelings into the. As they embraced, Jimin knew that he had found his true mate, not just someone who would stand by his side through thick and thin, but someone who accepted him for who he was, flaws and all. He felt a connection to Vian that went beyond anything he had ever known, a bond that transcended their differences and united them on a deeper level. He knew, without a doubt, that they were meant to be together. Jimin led Vian to a secluded clearing deep in the heart of the forest. I need to show you who I really am, he said, his voice tinged with a hint of apprehension. Before Vian could respond, Jimin's form began to change, his body contorting and shifting until he stood before her as the majestic wolf. Vian gasped in astonishment, her eyes widening with wonder and a touch of fear. It's okay. Jimin's voice echoed in her mind, his thoughts reaching out to her in a way that transcended words. This is the true me, the part of myself that I have kept hidden from the world. Vian's heart swelled with a mix of awe and compassion as she gazed at the magnificent creature before her. She reached out, her fingers brushing against the wolf's fur, and a surge of warmth and understanding passed between them. I accept you, Jimin, she whispered, her voice filled with conviction. All of you. Jimin and Vian shared their secrets, forging a bond that transcended the boundaries of human and werewolf. In that enchanted clearing, they found solace in each other's presence, and they knew that their destinies were forever intertwined. As they passed through the trees, Jimin pointed out his favorite spots in the forest, the places where he had gone to clear his head or simply to be alone with his thoughts. Vian listened intently, asking questions and sharing stories of her own. When they finally reached the cabin, the sun was high in the sky, casting a warm golden light over the landscape. Jimin turned to Wyan and smiled, feeling more content and at peace than he ever had before. "Will you stay with me?" he asked, his voice soft and hopeful. "Will you be my mate?" Wyan returned his smile, her eyes shining with love and devotion. "Yes," she said simply. "Yes, I will." And with that, Jimin knew that he had found his home, his purpose, and his happiness. Together they would face whatever challenges lay ahead, their love and their bond the unbreakable anchor that would keep them grounded in the midst of whatever storms life might bring. The first light of dawn began to filter through the trees. Jimin and Wyan emerged from their secluded heaven, their hearts heavy with the weight of the reality that awaited them. They knew that their love faced formidable challenges, and they were uncertain of how the world would receive their extraordinary bond. "I wish we could stay here forever," Wyan murmured, her gaze on Jimin. Jimin took her hand in his touch grounding her in the midst of uncertainty. "I do too, but we can't hide from the world. We have to face whatever comes our way together." They made their way back to the cabin, where the first rays of sunlight bathed them in a golden glow. As they prepared to part ways, Jimin's senses suddenly sharpened, and he tensed, his eyes scanning their surroundings. "We're not alone," he said, his voice low with concern. Before Wyan could react, a group of hunters burst onto the scene, there, ready. Fear gripped her heart as she realized they were in. "Stay back, Wyan," Jimin said, his eyes blazing with determination. "I won't let them." The hunters surrounded them, their leader sneering as he leveled his at Jimin. "We've been tracking this werewolf for months," he said, "and now we found him with his human." Wyan stood her ground, her voice steady despite her fear. "I'm not his. I'm his mate, and I won't let you." Jimin's eyes softened as he looked at Wyan, his love and gratitude shining in his gaze. "You are my strength, Wyan," he said, his voice filled with emotion. "Together we can face anything." In the standoff, Jimin and Wyan stood united against the hunters, their unwavering bond lending them courage and determination. As the situation, Jimin's instinct took over, and in a blur of motion, he transformed into his powerful wolf form, his eyes ablaze with The hunters recoiled in shock, but before they could react, Jimin launched himself at them, his primal instincts melding with his fierce devotion to protect Vian. In the chaos that ensued, Vian found herself at the center of a whirlwind of emotions, her heart torn between fear for Jimin and a fierce determination to stand by his side. Amidst the chaos, a new sound echoed through the clearing, the haunting halls of distant walls. Vian's heart leaped with hope as the silver fangs, the pack of Jimin, emerged from the shadows, their majestic forms a formidable sight. With a fierce display of unity, they drove off the hunters, their loyalty to Jimin unwavering. As the dust settled, Jimin returned to his human form, his eyes meeting Vian's with a mix of relief and gratitude. "They won't bother us again," he assured her, his voice filled with tenderness. Vian threw her arms around him, her heart overflowing with love and gratitude. "I know you'd protect me," she whispered, her voice choked with emotion. Jimin held her close, a balm on her soul. "I will always protect you, Vian, no matter what comes our way. Our love will conquer all." One crisp autumn day, as they were picking apples from a nearby tree, Vian felt a strange tugging sensation in her abdomen. "Jimin," she said, her voice trembling with excitement. I think it's time for delivery." Jimin's heart leapt into his throat. "Are you sure?" he said, his hands shaking as he helped her. "Yes," she replied, her face flushed with anticipation. "I've been feeling this strange pressure and I think our baby is coming." They hurried back to their cabin, their hearts pounding in unison. Jimin quickly gathered supplies while Vian lay down on their bed, her breath coming in short gasps. As Jimin watched her, he couldn't believe that this strong, beautiful woman was about to bring new life into the world. "You can do this, Vian," he murmured tenderly, brushing a strand of hair forehead. "You're going to be an amazing mother." Hours passed, and Vian's grew stronger. Jimin held her hand throughout it all, his touch gentle and reassuring. Finally, with a single powerful, their baby emerged into the world, covered in a sheen of. "Oh, Jimin," Vian breathed, gazing down at their newborn child. "It's a boy." Jimin felt tears welling up in his eyes as he took the tiny, squirming creature from Vian's arms. "Hello, baby boy," he whispered, his voice cracking with emotion. "Welcome to the world." They named their son Jane, and from the moment he entered their lives, it seemed as if he had always been a part of their story. Jimin and Vian cared for him with a love so deep it bordered on the divine, and as they watched their son grow and thrive, they knew that they had made the right decision to start a family in the forest they had come to call home. Together, they faced every challenge, every joy, and every heartache, their love for each other growing stronger with each passing day.